Namaskar, Nilesh here with the next session of this series, Shraddha and Pradnya. In this series, or rather in this specific episode, we will discuss the positions, as well as descriptions of Mars through the 18 days of the Mahabharata War, as described by Bhagwan Vyasadeva in the Mahabharata text. The previous episode, we looked at the retrograde movement of Mars near Chitra and Swati as it started moving in the Apasavya, that is a non-normal direction, in a peculiar fashion started afflicting, giving a pida to Nakshatra Chitra, and it was moving in that region of Chitra and Swati, and it was there practically for 6 months into the region of Nakshatra Chitra. Now, this happened at the beginning of 5561 BCE. Remember, Mars goes retrograde every 2+ years, about like 24, 26 months. And so at the time of Mahabharata War, if we say we are going to look at the time interval of the year of Mahabharata War, 5561 BC, plus minus 1 year, then we are going to find more than likely one retrogression, maximum 2 retrogradations of Mars. And as it happens for 5561 BCE, we find one retrogression of Mars, and it happens at Chitra and Swati exactly as described in the Mahabharata text. This episode, we are going to look at 4 different descriptions of Mars during the 18 days of the war. All right, so let's begin with that. This is going to be episode or part 11 of this series, Shraddha and Pradnya. And remember, by this time, you should be very conversant with all the Mars evidence from the Mahabharata text. There are a total of 8 specific instances. As I said, there could be others. To the best of my knowledge, there are not. But if you come across any, you should bring it up. Just make sure that it has a relevance for the timing of the Mahabharata War, not just some reference of Mars anywhere in the Mahabharata text, which has nothing to do with, say, Mahabharata War itself. All right, now out of these, last time, when we looked at the retrograde motion, we looked at number 4. We looked at number 5 briefly. We are going to look at it again today. In number 5, we also made use of to make a connection of what that Purusha Graha is. It's Lohitanga, which is Mars. That is one name of Mars. We are going to find many additional names, but here another one, Angaraka. Okay, or here Angaraka, that means it's Mars, but we are not going to look at that number 1 and 3 today. Okay, the Vakra motion. And yes, so we looked at number 4 and number 2 last time. They both are relevant for the retrograde motion of Mars, and number 5 we briefly described it. Today, we are going to look at number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8. So let's do that. Okay, they are here. Now, if we need to analyze it, how do we do it? I mean, we want to know what it is being described, who is being discussed, and so on. So you can make a list of questions like this and ask those questions to a specific evidence. Every time the evidence may not provide all the questions you may be asking. Remember, as a researcher looking at the ancient narratives, we are like beggars. Beggars cannot be choosy. So we have to do our best to find the extensive evidence we can find, but then sometime I get these naive questions. How come Vyasadeva did not mention something? Or why did Vyasadeva not describe these 2 planets in this fashion? I mean, this is utterly foolish question. Okay, as a 2-year-old child's curiosity, we may give it some credit because very young children may ask such questions. And actually, they are praiseworthy at that age, but not for anyone who is like, say, 12 years plus. Okay, uh, because we don't know why Vasudev did not describe something like that, or why Vasudev did not include a certain planetary configuration. We can only talk about what Vasudev has described and see if it matches, if it can validate, if it corroborates with our specific claim, like 5561 BC for the year of Mahabharata War. Let's begin with the reference number 5. Let's ask the question, who is being discussed? Well, we know the discussion is about the Mars, Lohitanga. Okay, when is this thing happening, whatever is being discussed? Well, the answer there is that Vakra Anuvakram Krutvam cha, after Mars went through Vakra Anuvakra motions. Now, we have not discussed Vakra Anuvakra motions. Granted, you have seen these Apasavya motion, okay, the normal forward motion. You have also seen Apasavya motion. But remember, there are specific descriptions in the Mahabharata text with a Vakra word in it. So let's assume that we have not discussed it, okay? Vakra Anuvakra motions. That verse is saying after Mars went through Vakra Anuvakra motion, what did it do? What about it? Now what? Okay. It came and lined up, okay, or settled along Nakshatra Brahma Rashi. Okay, so that's what it did. Now, where is Nakshatra Brahma Rashi? Well, the people who know astronomy well, they know what Brahma Rashi is. Brahma Rashi is nothing but Nakshatra Abhijit. Okay, if you look at the southern edition of Mahabharata, for example, instead of Brahma Rashi, you get the Pathaved Brahmyam Nakshatra Akramya or Brahmyam Nakshatra Samavrutta Brahmyam Nakshatra Samavrutta Lohitango Vyavastita. So Nakshatra of Brahma. Okay, so there is no confusion left whatsoever. Now, each nakshatra has a devata, and the nakshatra devata of Abhijit is Brahma. That's why also it is called Brahma Rashi. It can be called Abhijit, and it can be called Brahma Nakshatra or Nakshatra of Brahma. So we know that. And where is this happening? Well, it is happening at Nakshatra Brahma Rashi, Abhijit, but something else. This is in the vicinity of another nakshatra, Nakshatra Shravan. And anyone can go and look at the astronomy map up in the sky and find out where Nakshatra Shravan is and where Nakshatra Brahma Rashi is or Abhijit. In fact, right now, if you go at night, okay, around say 8 o'clock or find the right time for your location, and you are going to find what is known as summer triangle, okay, 3 distinct stars. Okay, the one star to the south, we are talking of say northern hemisphere right now. So to the south is that nakshatra Shravan, and one of the 2 stars to the north towards the north pole, but right above our head, one of them is nakshatra Brahma Rashi, nakshatra Abhijit, and you can see how close they are in comparison to the remaining 26 nakshatra that will go around in a circle. That's one way to just visibly verify that. But of course, if you're not convinced, you need to stop this and you need to be convinced about it before moving forward. Then let's do, yeah, so that's where it is happening, near Nakshatra Brahma Rashi. So Mars was near Nakshatra Brahma Rashi. In fact, settled at the same Vrutta. Like, you know, we have a Rekha Vrutta, Aksha Vrutta, like a latitude, longitude. It's saying it's along the same longitude. And that can be verified for the first day of the Mahabharata War, 16 October 5561 BC. Let's go to the next one. In this case, who? Angaraka and Buddha, Mercury and Mars. When is this happening? It's happening on the first day of war. How do you know it's the first day of the war? Just a simple chronological sequence of the descriptions in the Bhishma Parva, and then Drona Parva, then Karna Parva, then Shalya Parva, and then Soptik Parva. These are the war parvas. And there are very neat descriptions given by Bhagwan Vyasadeva when the first day war began, when the first day war ended, when the next day war began, next day war ended. And this goes on for 18 plus days. So we know it's the first day of the war. It is about Angarak and Buddha, Mars and Mercury. And what are they saying? Samiyatu. They were close by. They were close by. And this description comes when Vyasadeva is describing two warriors fighting. And in that, he makes this upaman. They were fighting. They looked as similar to the Angarak and Buddha, Mars and Mercury up in the sky. The next one, very, very similar. This time, it's a Shukra Angarak, that is Venus and Mars. Again, two warriors are fighting, and on the first day of the war, and they're being in close proximity next to each other, fighting is described with the metaphor, with the analogy of Shukra Angarak, that is Venus and Mars up in the sky, okay, as they were seen, so to say. And then we have to fast forward. So the first three are on the first day of the war, okay? And then we have to fast forward to the last day of the war. How beautiful. And there, who is that? We have now 3 planets. In fact, we looked through those 3 planets on the first day of the war. Angarak, Buddha, Shukra, Mars, Mercury, Venus. But something interesting. On the 18th day of the war, all 3 planets are seen together. Now, we'll see how impressive that corroboration is. But frankly, the very fact, if on the first day, Mercury and Mars are together, and Venus and Mars are together, very likely they will be 3 together. But the fact is that it is mentioned by Bhagwan Vyasadeva. And what does it say? Bhrugu Suno Dhara Putro Shashi Jaina Samanvito. Bhrugu Suna is that Venus, Dhara Putro is Mars, Shashi Jaina is Mercury. Samanvito, they were near each other, okay? They were in a group, they were together, something of that nature. Charamam Panduputranam Purastat Sarva Bhubujam, we can skip that. All right, so those are the descriptions. Let's, and if you need to, I'm going to jump into the simulation. But if you need to come back, you can actually go back and refer to this list. All right, so let's get into the simulation. All right, there. So now we are looking at the position of Mars. The date is 1st of January, 5562 BCE. As I said, as much as possible, I will start the simulation from 1st of January, 5562 BCE, about 1 year, 8 to 10 months before the actual timing of Mahabharata War. We get to see different phenomenon that is occurring, and we do need to look at that evidence in order to understand the Mahabharata descriptions, not only of Mars, but all planets, phases of the moon, and many different descriptions. Let's notice the position of the Mars. The position of the Mars is, say, about near Nakshatra Purva Bhadrapada, as we visually see it. What I am going to do, just to give you a flavor, also in a way, trying to share, trying to teach, if you want to call it, how different ways you can actually use astronomy software meaningfully. Yesterday, or the previous episode, not yesterday, when I was simulating the position of Mars for retrograde, I let it flow at its normal pace, but also sometime at a 1 day at a time. What I'm going to do is, right now, in this particular case, we are not interested what is happening to Mars until the first day of the Mahabharata War. But still, I want to start from the same point, emphasize or re-emphasize certain points, and then quickly get to the first day of the Mahabharata War, and then walk through those 4 observations. I have made a step change of 10 days. Okay, so this is how we are going to go. Mars, if it's not in retrograde, moves through one nakshatra in about 20 days. So 2 steps, and we should be able to pass through one nakshatra or overlap into 1 or 2 nakshatras. Okay, so that's what I've done now. So 10 days, and we are closer to, say, Uttara Bhadrapada. Another 10 days, we are closer to Revati. We are still in Revati. And now we are getting closer to Ashwini. We are getting closer to Bharani. We are getting closer to Kritika. We are at Kritika. We are near Rohini. We are taking a step of 10 days. When I say near Rohini, near Kritika, really what I'm saying is just from a visual perspective, the position of Mars is near the Yoga Tara of that nakshatra, which is what is marked in this astronomy simulation by me. Okay, so the next is Mrugashirsha. Then we are in the region of Ardra. We are now approaching Punarvasu. We are now closer to Pusha. Now we are in Aslesha. Now we are getting closer to Magha. Now, did you notice something? Okay, I have shown this to you before and want to do this again for a reason. Okay, all right. So this is November. Okay, so let me get to January 1st, like where we started. Notice the position of Mars is to the south of the ecliptic, this line, okay? That's not the focus today, but I want to prepare you for what's to come, the remaining two references of Mars. So notice that Mars is to the south of the ecliptic. As we went through this journey of Mars, okay, here, now Mars is right on the ecliptic. And if we continue further, we are going to notice that Mars is now to the north of the ecliptic. And that's how it came near Magha. So finally, when distinctly one can notice the position of Mars to the right or to the north of the ecliptic, and a distinct nakshatra star that shows up is near Magha. Just notice that. Okay, we continue our journey. And now we come close to Chitra. Now notice what happened at Chitra. Here we are going to see the retrograde motion of Mars. Mars will continue to go forward. I will bring Swati in the picture as well. Okay, almost get close to Vishakha Yogatara, but not quite. Now it turns backward. This is the retrograde motion of Mars. Remember, it's also afflicting, torturing, giving pida to Nakshatra Chitra by turning backwards, approaching her again, and now going forward. That is that Visheshana Vashneya Chitra Pidayate Graha that we saw. And now, remember, right now Mars is to the north of the ecliptic. Okay, as you go further, now Mars approaches the ecliptic again, this time from the north. Okay, now it is on the ecliptic, and next it goes to the south. Where does it go to the south? Very close to Nakshatra Anuradha and Nakshatra Jeshta. And then it continues its journey. We are going to go all the way until we reach October 16. So we are at October 12. I'm going to use a step change of 1 day to get to October 16. Quickly, let's look at the first observation, okay? So what I'm going to do for a second is make this bigger. So notice the position of Mars, where it is. So this is Mars. Now we want to know the position of any planet, any celestial body, any moving celestial body along the ecliptic, that line, the path of the sun. We do it with right ascension. If you want to know how far away from the ecliptic or the celestial equator, a new term that I'm stating, it should not be a new term for even somebody with a basic understanding of astronomy, but to many of you it could be, and that's fine. Go check it, what celestial equator is. But if you want to know the position, okay, of a specific star with respect to ecliptic, with respect to celestial equator, and with respect to North Pole, then depending on that, we are going to look at the declination or the latitude. But along the ecliptic, if you want to know, it is always done with the help of longitude or right ascension. So this is 1421. Remember that 14 hours, 21 minutes. Now, if you look at the position for the Yogatara of altar, this is Shravan Nakshatra, it is 13 hours 48 minutes, which means what? Shravan Nakshatra is here, and after that there is Mars. Let's look at the next nakshatra, which is Shravan, which is Dhanishta. I'm talking of 27 nakshatras. Notice the position, it's 1452, which means Mars was like 14 hours 21 minutes, so this is 1452, so it's after Mars. In effect, Mars is between Shravan and Dhanishta. Okay, and where was Mars? Mars was at 1421. Now quickly let's check Brahma Rashi, Abhijit, Brahma Nakshatra, and it is at 1432. Okay, 1348, 1452, 1421, and 1432. The Mars, position of Mars is right along Brahma Rashi as described by Bhagwan Vyasadeva. Okay, Brahma Nakshatra Samavrutta Lohitango Vyavastita, Brahma Rashi Samavrutta Lohitango Vyavastita. Okay, so let's again tag. So this is our first observation, first of the four. Now what we have to do, there are two more right here. So let's do it. So what we are going to do is I'm going to turn this to a step change of a minute. Okay, what time is it? 3 p.m. it's showing in Kurukshetra, at Kurukshetra on 16th October. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take this until sun just went below the horizon. Okay, so I'll remove this tag to the Mars and let's do it like this. Okay, here. I'm just making it bigger so easy to see. Okay, all right. So this sun here just went below the horizon. So timing is around 6:24. Here is Mercury. Here is Jupiter, but we are not discussing Jupiter evidence. And here is Venus, and here is Mars. Of course, you can see Uranus there. Again, we are not discussing Uranus. So focus on Mars, focus on Venus, and focus on Mercury here. Okay, all right. This is the first day of the war. The next reference, whatever the number was, number 6, it talked about Mars and Mercury closer in the sky, and they were compared with two warriors fighting with each other. If you notice, just to see how close they are, I'm going to look at their position. Again, remember, this was 14 something, 1422. And here, Mercury's position is 1137. Okay, 1422, 1137. Let's assume both to be 22 for now, or same. So 12, 13, 14. So 3 hours of longitudinal difference or right ascension difference, which is what? 45 degrees. And actually, it has to be just shy or smaller than 45 degrees because 37 to 22. So what we are looking at, if I was looking at one star right above my head and one star at the horizon, I would have said that's a 90 degree. Now turn that into half of that. Okay, I can just have my hands like this. So they were not above the head. We are looking at the western horizon at the time of sunset. But if the so I don't know if you can see this. So if the position of Mercury was something like this, my position of Mars up in the sky on the western horizon was about 45 degrees or less than 45 degrees from it. So, and most important thing, Mercury is very hard to see because it's very close to the sun. The fact that they both could be seen, that's a validation, corroboration of our Mercury evidence number 6. And we have now 2 more. Number 7, on the same first day, Vyasadeva is describing Mars and Venus together. Okay, Shukra Angaraka. Well, that's actually very easy to see. Mars is right here, Venus is right here. Again, we know Mars is 1422 there from right ascension. Let's look at the Venus position, 1352. So that's like 8 minutes to 14, and then we have 22. So 30 minutes of difference. 30 minutes, 4 minutes corresponds to 1 degree. So 30 minutes is what? About 7 degrees. So You can just do this calculation and imagine the visible sky is 180 degree or slightly bigger. It changes depending on where you are and many other factors, okay, along the ecliptic, what you can see. Let's simplify. So let's consider 180 degrees, the visible sky, half of the sky. Now imagine these two planets, Venus and Mars, are separated by 7 degrees out of that 180 degree. You can just imagine, you'll see here, and without even moving the eye, you will able to see the other planet. That is a validation, that is a corroboration of reference number 7, that Venus and Mars were seen together. Number 6, Mercury and Mars were seen together in the sky. Okay, that's that. We already looked at Mars being positioned right along the same longitude, same right ascension as Brahma Rashi or Brahma Nakshatra or Abhijit. And now one more. We have to now go to the 18th day of the war and look at, just validate that, yes, Mars, Venus, and Mercury, okay, or Venus, Mars, and Mercury. Bhrugu Suno Dhara Putro Shashi Jaina Samanvita. They were together. Okay. So now notice as I go through from the first day to the 18th day of the war with a step change of 1 day, notice what happens to the position of all 3 planets, especially Mercury. It's going to approach towards Venus and Mars at an accelerated pace. Okay, so right now on day 1, notice Sun is here. Then between Jupiter and Sun, Mercury is in between. By the time we go to the 18th day, what you're going to find is that Mercury is going to bypass Jupiter, and Jupiter would be between Mercury and the Sun. Okay, so let's quickly do that. So this is our first day. Okay, let's go. This was a Amavasya day, by the way. Okay, and so Amavasya meaning that the Sun and the Moon would be together. So somebody should wonder, where is the Moon? Okay, if I use the Moon in the simulation right now, when I'm focusing on a planet, it will be so distractive that you will not notice what's going on. So software allow that kind of wonderful modifications, or rather fine tuning. So I have removed the visibility of the Moon so that this can be understood very well. Okay, but at some point in future, I will introduce the Moon and then show you what happens. And by the way, don't wait for me to do anything. Go grab a very sophisticated software such as Voyager or any other, and let me know how that works and how it validates the same stuff that you are seeing here. All right, so this is the day of Amavasya, and you would have seen Moon somewhere here if I would have allowed the software to display the Moon. Okay, all right, so this is day 1. Now let's go day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. October 25th is the day, 10th day of the war, when Bhishma fell down in the battle. And then from that day, he was on the bed of arrows until basically waiting for the day of winter solstice. In the year 5561 BCE, the day of winter solstice was 30 January, forgive me, 30 January 5560 BCE. Okay, because we are using Julian as a reference calendar. Again, if you don't understand how come a winter solstice day occurred on January 30, 5560, or so in 5560 year, January 30, using Julian calendar, you need to stop this. You need to, again, that's not a subject today, but my point is anytime that happens, stop it. Go get your fundamentals cleared right in place about how the Gregorian calendar works, how Julian calendar works. Otherwise, you have to take it with a Shraddha, that's how it is. But if you want to convince yourself on your own terms, that's a great idea. You need to stop this, you need to do that, and then only come back and follow this. So from October 25th to all the way to January 30. So entire November, entire December, entire January. So that's like 90 days, approximately, plus these 6 days or so and one more day, so total of actually Bhishma was on the bed of arrows for 98 days. And what does Mahabharata text says? Mahabharata text gives you 6, 23, 60, 100, or even more pieces of evidence in the context of Bhishma Nirvana, saying, decisively showing that Bhishma was on the bed of arrows for more than 95 days. And we also validate that by showing actually he was on the bed of arrows for 98 days to be precise. Okay. That's not the subject today, but I'm just showing you how all these different pieces of the puzzle, the jigsaw puzzle, the crossword puzzle, they come together for 5561 BCE. So that's the 10th day of the war, October 25th, when Bhishma fell down. Okay. Next day, October 26th, that's the 11th day, October 27th, 12th day, October 28th, 13th day. This is the day Kaurava party killed Abhimanyu. You go to the next day, 14th day, that's 29th of October. This is the day Arjun killed Jayadratha. Now, this is a day close to the Purnima. Remember, the war began 15 days ago, 14 days ago. This is very, very close to Purnima. And actually, the fighting continues through the whole night, the 14th day battle. Okay, it continues through the whole night, with the exception of a couple of hours of rest in between. And at some point, we'll discuss all the magic of the 14th night war, including all the chaos and confusion, okay, that is being created by Mahabharata researchers. But let's move on. So this is the 14th day. This is also the day when there is a description by Vasudeva of 7 planets attacking the moon, and this used as a upaman, a comparison with 7 Kaurava brothers attacking Bhimasen. And when we get to that, we will also show, we can show 7 planets from one side attacking the moon on the 14th day of the war, visible in the sky. If you go to the next day, which is the 15th day of the war, this is the day Drishtadyumna killed Drona. Now, the next day, Karna becomes the Senapati. So, Bhishma is Senapati for 10 days. Drona is Senapati for 5 days. Now, Karna, on the 16th day of the war, Karna becomes Senapati. On this day, there is a description of 7 planets moving away from the sun, Nishcharanti, Nishcharanta, Vyadrushanta, okay? That also can be shown why Vasudeva would have said that 7 planets are moving away from the sun. How beautiful, okay? And we can show this, we will show this for October 31st, 5561 BCE. Again, guys, when I say we will show, I'm not saying this is something that not shown before and we will show in the future. No, you can go to my book, you can listen to my other lecture, just type Nilesh in YouTube, and you're going to see this. Now, we are doing this in a very particular context of Shraddha and Pradnya, and helping you with additional things, but a specific context of how to expose some of the fraud that has been done as it relates to the dating of the Mahabharata. Okay, so this is the 16th day of the Mahabharata war. The 17th day, which is November 1st, that is the day in the evening Arjun killed Karna. Again, beautiful astronomy descriptions of Mercury and also of a Jupiter, and they match beautifully for November 1st, 5561 BC. By the way, no one else for no other date can match those descriptions either. And we are just talking Mars descriptions right now. Let's get to the last day, 18th day, November 2nd. And what was that last reference in the Mars list? Bhrugu Suno Dharaputro Shashi Jain Samanvito Charamam Panduputranam Purastat Sarvabhu Bhujam. Now notice what has happened. I am going to make some change here, like, step change to just show you. On the first day, between Jupiter and Sun, Mercury was here somewhere, let's say. Now the Mercury has moved so fast, it has bypassed Jupiter. Okay. And what is the final day's description? So right now, we are only talking at Bhrugu Suno Dharaputro Shashi Jena. So just imagine Sun is below the horizon, sunset has occurred. And if you want, if it helps, I will do this. It's not required. So I'm saying, okay, let's even let Jupiter go below the horizon for a clean look as to what this description could be. And Vasudeva, or one of his disciples, or whoever, Sanjay, whoever made this observation, what is that person saying? Of course, we have a Uranus here. Now we even can see Neptune. Okay. but they are not, of course, visible to the naked eye. Okay, that doesn't mean they cannot be seen. Now we see with the binoculars. But the point is, it's about Bhrugu Suno, Dharaputro, Shashijena. And the question is, were they together? Could they be seen? Like, yes, sun has set and Mercury is still above the horizon. Venus is above the horizon. Mars is above the horizon. And now they all three as a together have come even closer. Okay, so before, remember, I said Mercury and Mars had about just shy of 45-degree angle between them. Now, if you want to quickly do a math, this is 15 hours and 12 minutes. So remember, Mars has also moved from 1422 to 1512. It has moved by 10 degrees or so. I mean, more or less, right? So the 18, it should move about what, whatever the 18 days it will move. Let's look at the Mercury. So that's 1512. This is 1312. Very nice. So 2 hours, which is what? 30 degrees. So now Mercury and Mars are separated. Instead of 45 degrees on the first day, now they are separated by only 30 degrees. And Venus is in between. So this is also a validation of that reference from Shalya Parva for the 18th and the last day of the Mahabharata War, which says Bhrugu Suno Dharaputro Shashijena Samanvito Charamam Panduputranam Purastat Sarva Bhubhujan. Now, what, this is not some complex combination, guys. This is a very simple description of three planets together. Vasudeva has given it. And do you know what you will find? Just like I'm telling you for the entire Mars references, 8 references, no Mahabharata researcher is now going to open their mouth. No Mahabharata researcher other than 5561 claim will dare discuss this simple reference of Mars, Venus, and Mercury together, seen together, okay, on the 18th day of the war. I would leave with this particular thought with you, this particular reference with you, to think what could be that mysterious reason why they dare not discuss this simple reference from Mahabharata text of 3 planets, Mars, Venus, Mercury, seen together on the 18th and the last day of the war. All right, so with that, I will stop sharing. That's it, guys. So the previous part, we looked at reference number 2 and number 4. So that was the retrograde motion. Today we looked at 5, 6, 7, 8, Mars position through the 18 days of the war. And in the next episode, we will look at 2 references, reference number 1 and reference number 3, where 3 instances of Vakri motion is described, 2 of them for Mars and 1 of them for Jupiter. All right. I'll see you soon. Namaskar.